Hi, I'm Arthur Moats, and I'm here to talk to you about the Moats theory of life and the amazing Father's Day sale that we have going on, ladies and gentlemen. So, leading up till Father's Day, if you purchase Moats Theory of Life, my new book, you can buy one and get the next one half off. I mean, this is a chance to help your father become a better person of impact and inspiration. You do not want to miss this opportunity. So with that being said, moatstheory.com is the place to go. You do not want to miss out, baby. What's up? It's the Arthur Moats Experience with Deke. I'm Arthur Moats, and that's my main man, Deke.
What's up, bro?
Man, just vibing out. We had breaking news happen today. Unfortunately, we found out that Ezekiel Elliott, along with several Cowboys and Houston Texans, have tested positive for COVID-19. Bombshell.
I got nothing,
dude. That's rough.
I got nothing, man. I was telling you, I'm just worn down. We have glimmers of hope, reason for optimism, and then all of a sudden, I just don't know. I'm beat down, dude. I got nothing for you. I just don't.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, how? Asymptomatic, but I guess the one benefit the Cowboys said that none of the players, I think the Texans said this as well, that none of the players had been in the facility, which should be the case because right now only coaches were allowed back. So that is a positive. Doesn't set back everything else you're trying to get in motion. I just think going forward, though, man, it's going to be interesting to see what's the thought process or the synopsis, because right now we were talking about potentially the NFL and NFLPA were talking about potentially starting training camp a couple of weeks earlier so guys could get some practices in because of the lack of OTAs. They also talked about potentially having a mini camp. Some clubs will have a mini camp at the end of June. That was another thing that was brought up. I just don't, I want to know going forward, is every time something like this happens, does that reset everything, or would they still operate as if these guys just had hamstring injuries for just timetable standpoints, have them not out there, but everybody else be available and still proceed as we're going on? Because I think if we just continue to stop every time something comes up like this, and these people, like I said, with Zeke, we know with Zeke, he was asymptomatic. So are we going to stop every single time, or is it just going to be that guy has to stay away, quarantine as if he was injured, and go about their business that way? That's what I'm trying to figure out right now, man, because I feel like the more people, like the more they're starting to have tests readily available, because remember, that was the issue prior. There weren't enough tests. So the only people that were getting tested were people with symptoms. Well, now we're getting to the point where we have enough tests that you could test people that don't have symptoms. Yeah. I think the more we start to test people that don't have symptoms, I'm sure you're going to come across more positive tests. So like I said, what's the procedure? What's the end goal? What are we trying to accomplish going forward? Are we trying to proceed and coexist with this situation with COVID-19, or are we still treating it as if, hey man, this is the boogeyman, and if he shows up, everybody goes back home?
I think the NFL's going with the former attitude, like the first thing you said. I think they're going to just try to manage it and keep on going forward, because the whole asymptomatic thing, there's something that comes out, a week or two ago that says asymptomatic people can't carry it at all. And that was like one of the big concerns as to why everything got shut down. Obviously, I think there were some people that debunked that and said, that's false. But I think that was like a big organization, right? The WHO.
So this is the thing between the WHO, between Dr. Fauci. It seems as if one will say one thing and another will contradict it, or they'll both say something at one point in time and then a week or two later they essentially debunk it. I think the biggest issue is kind of the over information right now. Until you know with 100%, don't put that out there, because then it does come across as, oh, this is factual right here. Whereas we don't know that just yet when it comes to can asymptomatic people pass it along and things like that. So I think until we all officially know that, it's hard to just throw that out there. But that's what the WHO and Dr. Fauci have both been wrong for doing at times throughout this thing. I mean, they've presented some really good information, some very helpful information, but it's no different when, remember, at first they were like, hey man, there's no point in wearing a mask. Mask isn't going to do anything. And then they say, well, actually, man, you do need to put a mask on. It can help. It can do this. So it's just a fluid situation. I think instead of trying to operate in the absolutes of it, just roll through the gray areas, roll through the, hey man, it could be this right now, but okay, new information came out that now it is this. Okay, this came out that now that is that. Instead of just trying to make it as, oh, it's black and white. This is right. This is not what it is. This is what it is. I think that for me personally, I think that'd be the better approach.
Yeah. And I think we both are hoping then the NFL just can figure out a way to keep pushing forward and manage this correctly then. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, right now it doesn't seem anything too alarming. It does, like I said, it's just one of those things you hear, you're just like, oh, man, come on. But we still got a few months away before, I guess a couple months before, like, training camps, like, end of July. And we start moving.
Months, I mean, technically, we already...
1.5, yeah, I guess I'm rounding up.
We're already midway through June, man.
I guess I'm rounding up. So... yeah. Hopefully things could get a little bit more figured out by then. And
that's at the NFL level. There were reports that 7 or 8 Alabama football players tested positive as well. And then WVU, I think they had a guy or two test positive as well. So, like I said, man, it's going to be an interesting thing to see how everything continues to progress, though, man.
Yeah, it will be. It will be.
Yeah.
So I don't have much for you, man.
Yeah. Hey man, no, hey, listen, we were just breaking the news. That's it. That's it. Yeah. It just came out literally right before we were hopping on. So we said, we'll get the people what they need to hear, man.
Yeah, at least we broke it down.
Yeah, we gave our little opinion. That's it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but something that happened, this would have been last week, that I think is a big deal that anybody that watched college football can appreciate.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion, the most electric college football player that I've personally ever seen in my life. Reggie Bush has officially been able to reestablish ties with USC. So the NCAA, obviously everybody knows by now, when the whole, if somebody is considered amateur or not because of benefits and things like that, Reggie Bush and OJ Mayo were the two big ass from USC that fell victim to that, where USC had to officially cut ties with both of them for, and it couldn't be longer than 10 years. And this is the 10th year of that. I mean, it was just a crazy situation to think that Reggie Bush, probably like I said, you could debate top 5 most electric college football players that have ever played the game.
Right.
The fact that USC had to essentially act as if he never played there, can't even talk about him, mention him, like it was just unreal.
Got his Heisman removed.
Yeah, and when you think about, man, when Reggie Bush was at USC, that was must-see TV. We can all go through the list of just electric moments that stand out. For me, my personal is the Fresno State game where he's running up the sideline, stops with the cutback across the field. I mean, it was just insane. Like, Reggie is Reggie. Reggie is USC. And when you talk about OJ Mayo from a basketball standpoint, he was the highest drafted player for USC for basketball. Man, like, it's nuts to think that because the NCAA deems somebody ineligible because of benefits that they received, that you have to cut ties, especially when we talk about just how crazy it is that those two athletes in particular have generated millions upon millions of dollars for that university while they were playing. They were selling their jerseys while they were playing. But if they try to profit in any way, shape, or form for themselves on that they would be viewed as ineligible and all these other things to go along with it.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was. It had something to do with the car dealership. It had something to do with like his parents living in an apartment or some type of place out in San Diego, correct? Which is compared to all the things USC was receiving and benefit to Reggie Bush playing.
It wasn't even close.
Yeah, just the social presence that USC had at that time. And it was because of Leinart and Bush. It was those two.
Absolutely.
It was, I mean, that school was a dynasty for what, those 2 to 3 years. You just thought they were going to win every game. Like, it was a shock that they lost to Texas.
Yes.
In that championship. They were such a powerhouse. I remember my brother had a Leinart jersey. He liked USC, so I was always rooting against them. They were like, right now, kind of the past, 10, 15 years, how the Patriots are to the NFL. That's how I viewed them whenever I was growing up. Because time goes a lot slower when you're a kid. So that 3-year run seems like forever.
Absolutely.
Probably the same way how some kids are thinking with Alabama and Clemson. Although that is reality right now. Because that run has been too long for both those teams. Someone needs to start stepping up.
Man. Appreciate dynasties.
So, I mean, it's good. They are good for, because the Warriors, you would say, are good for the NBA, or we're good.
I ain't going there. Whoa. I'm not going there now.
Because it gives the
I'm
Heat,
not going there now.
What about the Heat?
The Heat is totally different than the Warriors. What are we talking about?
I'm just talking about it gives you someone to root against.
No.
Brings better storylines, dude.
That's drastically different. I'm just throwing it out there. Heat, if they would have added, KD could have came to the Heat as well.
Dude.
Then you could have got that. You're not about to tell me what the Warriors did when KD went over there is good for basketball. I don't want to hear it. I don't.
It's a tough call because it's good for entertainment purpose. I just thought it brought an element.
If you were from Oakland, you enjoyed it. If you were from the Bay Area, you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's just tough. I mean, there were close matchups though.
Were they really though?
With some of those Rockets series?
No, it was never that close, bro. To me, it wasn't.
If Paul didn't go down, that's the whole thing. I don't agree with it. I still think the Warriors would have won, but a lot of people think the Rockets had legitimate shots. Even last year, whenever KD went down, I knew the Rockets were going to choke. Anyone that watches the game knew they were going to choke anyway.
But that's why I put my money on the Raptors, because I knew when that came down,
that was a joke, dude.
We were winning. I said, I believe you, Kawhi.
Come on,
I believe you.
Come on, dude. I think KD said something about that recently, or maybe it was last year. Maybe it just popped up on my feed recently. I don't know, but he basically said like, "Yeah, we would have won this if I didn't go down or Clay went down." Let's just be real about this whole thing.
Well, I mean, when they were healthy, let's be real, it was nobody was going to beat them. Period.
Right.
Yeah, but I knew they weren't healthy, and I knew Durant coming back still wasn't going to be as healthy as Durant pre-injury. We're good. And that's why I put my money where my mouth is, and I won, and I appreciate you for being a real one and paying up your debt. You know what I mean? That meant a lot to me.
That was a good time.
Yeah, man.
But back to USC, I mean, I would put them for a 3-4 year run up with these types of teams where you're just like, this was a dynasty. They were overpowering. And I don't know how much you've heard recently at like Bush coming out and doing any interviews or anything like that. But the thing, because I think I would handle it different than him potentially. I don't know. He has a different perspective than me though. I would be kind of bitter about this whole thing and just be like,
definitely see that.
USC, get out of here. Like I gave you all this. I don't even want to talk to you guys. I don't want to associate with you guys at all.
Right.
I know the product I put out on the field. Yeah. I know how good I was. We had championship. You can't take any of that stuff away from me. You can act like you did, but whatever. I think I would have that standpoint. Yeah. Like all of a sudden, 10 years now, you want to be all cool with me and stuff.
I think the situation, why Reggie is more, I guess he almost came off as like remorseful and just happy to be back associated with them, is because I don't think it was necessarily USC's decision. I think it was more NCAA's decision.
And that's how USC had to respond.
Yeah.
Kind of like cover their ass a little bit.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So it was like, we're going to, because remember they lost scholarships as well. And they had all these other sanctions. And then it was like, okay, you also got to cut ties too. So it was like, all right, if this is all a part of it, then this is what we'll do for that. I mean, similar to like SMU as well. I mean, granted, we were younger, a lot younger, if even born.
I wasn't alive.
But researching it as we were older, like it was a similar situation with the whole death penalty thing and stuff like that, where it's not necessarily that the university wanted to do that, but more so they had to just comply with the NCAA, was laying down in terms of rules, which is why I think the consensus here is a lot of people don't like the NCAA because of how they will market and profit off of these players in these universities. But when the individual tries to profit on their self, they're not allowed to. And it's the only thing that's like that in college. I mean, you look at anybody that's there just for academics.
Dude, yeah, I could have went to Pitt and, whenever I was 18 to 22, been at school and then doing a side business for myself.
Like easily. And then people were like, well, you're on a scholarship, so that should pay for it. Well, people are on academic scholarships as well. There's numerous people that have academic scholarships that go and do an internship for a Fortune 500 company and be making good money while being on that academic full scholarship. So when people try to make that case of, well, as athletes, they're paid to be there and this and that, so they shouldn't even be complaining. Well, why isn't it like that when it comes to the academic element of it? When that guy's majoring in biology, or that guy's that young lady is a marketing major and she's working for this company as well while still being in college. This is the only time where, it's amateurism. You can't do that. If it was like that across the board for every major, for every student in college, that's one thing. But that's not the case. When it comes to this, it only applies to athletes. And that's the part that makes everybody say, you know what, this is crazy. This doesn't make any sense. Because like you said, any other major you have, if you're not an athlete, you can go profit on it right now and be fine.
Yeah. I wonder, it's probably got so much to do with control where, I mean, they're starting, they have that rollout right now where players can start profiting off their image and likeness, but probably so much had to be like, all right, if we don't control this or just say a no to it, all these players are going to be making money. I don't know how we're going to be able to get our hands on it. So I just want to control the situation completely and not have to worry about that at all. That's probably what it had to do with. But with Bush, dude, his answer to it though makes me think I would hopefully have this perspective, because it was really cool how he responded to the whole thing. His main thing is he wants to go back to USC for the kids, because he said he remembered whenever he was in school and he would have like Marcus Allen on the sideline, some of these celebrities, some of the just former USC greats on the sideline cheering him on, giving him encouragement and just being around. And he was like, I want to do that for kids right now growing up. So that is why one of the reasons he was excited, in which I'm like, all right, that's really cool. That's a good reason not to be bitter then.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, I mean, Reggie doing it for the kids. Shout out to Reggie. And his impact in terms of what he's been doing with his foundation and stuff in the Southern California area has definitely been well noted. I mean, he's a big guy in the community and stuff like that out there. So kudos to him for that too.
How do you think? See, this could just be completely off the wall. Maybe we don't really have any answers for this. How do you think this is going to turn out with the image and likeness thing?
I don't know, honestly, man. I think this is.
You think it's going to be the Wild Wild West to start off? Do you think it'll be held back too much, where it's like, all right, there isn't too much difference anyway with these new rules?
This is, put it like this. I think year one, it's not going to be anything crazy, because I think people are still going to be trying to figure out how to maximize it.
Yeah.
I think once you get a couple of players that find a way to really maximize it and start creating a model of, hey, this is how you profit off of these type of situations, then I think the NCAA is going to try to get somewhat more regulations in that department.
Okay.
Because I think, it's going to continue to go on and evolve, but I think the first year or two, people are still gonna be trying to figure it out. Okay, like what's the difference between what we're doing right now compared to what this is now? Okay, now that we know the rules, it's gonna take somebody to say, okay, well, this is how we can profit off of that. This is what we can do to make it better. But it still isn't how it should be just yet. Where if a car dealership wants to pay this guy $50,000 to go do this, they're still not fully able to do that just yet
with the new rule.
Yeah. Right now,
really?
It's still.
What's the holdup with that?
It's the NCAA.
Okay.
They still have they still have parameters and boundaries around it. Because if that's the case, then man, shoot, whoever's starring at Pitt right now, Pat Jones, for example, he could go in Jim Short. He could say, you know what, man, we want to pay you $60,000 to drive our car and do commercials for us. He's not allowed to do that right now. NCAA is still not allowing that. So that's what I'm saying. It's still not even fully to that extent just yet. Exactly.
That doesn't even make sense. What else can you do? Because what's the difference between that and having a brand come up to you for your social media page, your TikTok, your Instagram, or whatever, and say, hey, can you just do like a 15-second story doing something with my product? Yeah. What's the difference between doing commercials for a car?
Talk to the NCAA, man. I mean, realistically, we think about the fact that has the NCAA ever made sense when you got a guy like AJ Green, for example, right? Who was dominating. Georgia was selling his jersey. He took one of his game jerseys and sold it. And got suspended.
Well,
just think about it. I'm just saying, like,
you know what their argument is with the whole jersey selling is they never have the names on them when they're selling.
Like I just don't understand. Like,
it doesn't make sense.
It makes zero sense. Or how, I forgot what university the kid went to, but he had like a big YouTube page, or he was getting paid for his YouTube.
Kicker.
Yeah.
The kicker.
He was getting paid for his YouTube, and they're like, nah, that's a violation.
Well, because that was
where does, I don't understand that.
And I mentioned the social media page doing an ad, but that was something I was thinking too. Like these student athletes, they could just make YouTube pages or Instagram pages, just build those up somehow. Obviously, you might have to pay someone to do the production and everything, but if you could start building your brand up that way while you're in school, while you're like an elite talent and showcasing all this skill, and and that's the thing. If you're doing really good in college, like you're hot, like you want to take advantage.
You should.
Of that, I guess, that prime time space that you're getting people's attention.
And that's where you're going to have some of your most loyal fans. I mean, I think to this day, I still have some of my most diehard fans are JMU fans.
Yeah.
Because that's where you were at for 4 years, guaranteed. And that was all that was going on. Whereas in the NFL, it's more of a business. You're here for a season or two, or this is happening or that. It's more business and political at that level versus at the collegiate level where it's still, man, this is pure. This is mom and pop style right here.
And I know some of the purity might get taken out of it, but as long as it's not a relationship between you and the school, money-wise, then I still think some of that purity could stay where you're trying to take advantage of what you're doing on the field by going to businesses and doing stuff that is off the field. So you have those type of relationships going on as opposed to in the NFL, it's between organization and player.
Right. So if USC were to say, hey, we're going to cut you a check for $50,000 to do this while you're playing on scholarship.
Yeah, and if it's based off playing time or,
right, that is different.
So that's what I mean, where I still think some of the purity could be kept there, even though it's not going to be 100% anymore.
No, but you're absolutely right. It does. It would add to the purity. And this is the thing. Okay, granted, you still were getting a scholarship check, or for some of the guys that were getting Pell Grant checks, all of that still played into some of the money you were receiving. It's just the NCAA wants to dictate who's allowed to send you that money.
Yeah.
Like, I received Pell Grant checks, and that's based off of just your parents' income and your housing and things like that. So it's okay for the government to send me this money. But if I would have went down the street and this car dealership or this restaurant say, hey, Arthur, we want to give you $5,000. Same exact money, same exact dollar amount. We want to give you $5,000 though. Just come in here and wear this shirt and take a picture. I couldn't do that. To me, I just don't. They like to regulate it all. As we've said, they want to have their hand on it. And that's the biggest issue.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, hopefully it's going in the right direction. Seems like it at least. But all in all, I like it for Reggie Bush.
Yeah, man.
Because initially, whenever I heard it, I'm like, who cares? I'd be still pissed about this, how I was treated back in the day. But now it seems like he wants to get back for good reasons and for the kids because, he's got the platform. He can impact kids and hopefully in a positive way. So that's awesome.
And I will say this, man, you get attached to these universities. It's different than like pro teams. Like at the collegiate level, because like, first off, you had a choice. You chose to go there.
You just said you're still like a legend down in JMU.
Yeah, so the thing is, it's like I think that's the difference between professional versus collegiate. In college, you have the list of schools that want to pick you. I mean, they want you to come there. You got all the different scholarships and things like that. But you can say, hey, you know what? I want to go here. And then you fall in love with it. You're like, man, I came here for this reason. I love this program. I love this coach. I love these people here. And then you're there for 3, 4, 5 years. You build a connection, a bond. You're more open to it because you're not having to worry about, are they going to try to cut me next year? Are they going to try to trade me next year? You don't have to worry about that. So that's why you get that type of love, that type of, man, I want to be here. Whereas when you get to the NFL, you don't choose where you go. I mean, you can once you get to free agency, but then once again, the money plays a larger role in that. But when you're first getting drafted, you don't say, hey, I want to go here or I don't want to go there. No, they just pick you unless you're Eli Manning. I mean, other than that, you're just kind of stuck with it. So, and even with that, once you get there, you're still reserved in terms of how much you want to love and how much you want to give to that organization and to that community, because in the back of your head, you're drafting somebody, you're signing somebody in free agency next year to come in here and take my spot, and I got to fend them off. So as much as I want to say I love this, I'm still kind of pissed with you, and we're going to just smile and say it's business and leave it at that. But that still is the reality of it. Whereas collegiately, it doesn't matter who you bring in the next year. My scholarship is still intact. I'm still going to be on this team. Now, playing time, that differs, of course, but outside of that, I don't have to worry about, am I going to be at this university next year or not? Like, I think that's another reason why when you talk about how Reggie Bush just seems happy to be back, that's because, man, like, you build that type of bond is different.
Yeah. And I'm sure there might be some financial gains for him coming up with.
Absolutely. Come on, baby. If you can't make money at your university once you're gone, man, hey, wait a minute now. Shout out to JMU. I love going back. Go Dukes.
So win-win for Bush and USC,
yes,
it looks like. And hopefully, because I listen to Coward a lot, he talks about how when USC and Miami is down, that hurts college football because it seems so much more regional. You get USC and Miami involved, it becomes a little bit more national. Man. So if Bush's presence can bring in some more recruits.
Sports are better with big-time programs than winning.
Yeah.
You would say that, you would agree with that, right?
Big time programs?
Yeah, man. Just big time programs. When the best teams, like the historic teams, like the Yankees, or like you said, the Steelers and the Cowboys, like when those teams are good, it's better for sports.
Yeah, what's the loophole here? What are you trying to get me at here?
I'm just saying, bro. I'm just agreeing with it. We on the same page, right?
All right. Wait, are you trying to knock my Alabama
No,
comment?
bro, I'm just.
There's something I'm missing here. Just with how you said it.
Why is it gonna be just with how I said it? I'm just saying, man. Sports are better when the major programs are winning, huh?
Steelers are part of that, yes. Yeah, so.
Yeah, Alabama. Clemson.
All right.
That's cool, right?
Is Clemson really a powerhouse like that?
No, they're not. They're not.
It's because of Dabo, whatever he's built. Like, he could leave, and I don't think Clemson's that same type of brand.
Alabama is always Alabama.
Yeah. ACC. Yeah, those teams kind of go through cycles over in the ACC.
I think Florida State, Miami are still like in the powerhouse.
Dude, I'm telling you, growing up, Clemson was always bad. They were always that overhyped team that never did it. And these past 7-8 years, all of a sudden they get Dabo Swinney and they're amazing. So, I mean, maybe in 20, 30 years we're singing a different tune if he stays there the whole time. But yeah. I mean, you want the good schools. You want the powerhouses.
I like
and Steelers are a powerhouse.
They are.
We need to get back.
They are. So I like that. I'm a fan of the juggernauts. I'm a fan of the powerhouse. I'm a fan of the dynasties.
Except the Warriors, though.
Because that was different.
I don't know.
That was very different.
It was different, but it was still powerhouse.
Time out. Would you compare?
It still made things interesting.
That did not make things interesting. It made it uninteresting because you knew they were beating everybody by 20.
Those Rockets series were pretty interesting. Not the Cavs ones. I mean,
no, what other series outside of the Rockets series are you saying was interesting?
The last Cavs one was awful. I will say that.
That's what I'm saying. So outside of the Rockets series, which other series are you saying was interesting? They were beating everybody by 20.
The first Cavs ones, there was still somewhat hope. I think the
uncertainty of it.
I think that series could have been 2-2. I remember the Cavs blew one of those games.
No, the J.R. Smith.
No. That was the last one.
You're right.
Yeah. That was game one where you're just like, wow, could they steal game one? And then they lost game one. It was over.
Yeah.
That was how that one played out. But the Cavs won one of those games in the finals before that, and they had a lead or it was tied. Something happened at the end.
Kyrie was still on the team then.
I think they ended up losing the series 4-1, but it was. I think it was a little bit closer than that, where you at least thought.
No, it was going to be.
You still thought Warriors were going to win, but you just didn't know if LeBron was going to pull it out somehow.
But that wasn't a parity because we knew LeBron and Kyrie would play their best, and if KD, Clay, Steph, and Draymond play their best, it's still not going to be enough.
Well, I'm pretty sure that the close Rocket series was the last Cavs final series against the Warriors. That's what I mean. So at least it was split up a little bit, so you got a little bit of interest.
It was never the debate. You knew, okay, they're gonna win. Unless somebody gets hurt, which we saw the last year, that's also what happened. But if nobody got hurt, we say, yo, it's not enough. It's not. And we saw. And that's why the records were where they were, man.
So you don't feel the same way maybe about the Jordan Bulls or the Shaq and Kobe Lakers, some of those other dominant teams?
Because like you said, 2 to 3, like two dominant guys like that. When you talk Shaq and Kobe,
are you cool? Is it just because of how those teams came together versus how the Warriors came together? No,
I don't care how the teams come together. I'm not. I mean, if that's the case, I wouldn't like the Celtics when they had Durant. I mean, when they had Garnett, Rondo, and Paul. But I that's not an issue to me in that regard. Even with Ray Allen, it's just when I see, okay, this team is already a powerhouse, and then you bring in an MVP to put him with the reigning MVP at the time. That's too much. That's too much. That's all I'm saying. It's way too much.
Who are you blaming then, KD?
To each his own, man. To each his own.
We had the KD debate though a couple podcasts ago.
We did. I'm glad KD made a good decision too.
What do you mean?
He said he's not gonna play. He said no. I'm glad.
Well,
and that's a whole other situation too with the NBA, what they got going on right now.
It is. Yeah. Wait, did you want to discuss it?
I did not want to discuss that.
Okay.
I did not
Okay. We don't have to then. We don't have to.
Yeah, that's I mean, you done brought it up though now.
What do you want to say?
You did bring it up.
It's up to you, man.
I mean, you want to go there?
It's up to you.
I mean, if you want to go there, we can go there.
If you start talking about it,
we've already technically started talking about it, did we not?
All right, what about it?
So what we're talking about right now is it's a divide. Players saying they either want to come back and play right now. They feel like they can use this opportunity to, continue the conversation in terms of Black Lives Matter and ultimately use that platform to keep the awareness going, keep the conversation going and things like that. Half of the NBA feels that way, that are going to be allowed to go to the whole Orlando situation. And then the other half feel that, I don't even want to say it's half because I didn't even know like the full amount just yet, but it's a good portion on both sides that say that they don't want to go down there. They feel that starting back the NBA would ultimately act as a distraction and take away from the momentum that has finally been, had with the protests and with these conversations in terms of social injustice and things like that. So yeah, that's where we're at with it, man. I'm gonna let you go first too, since you brought this up. Yeah, man. Have at it. What is your thoughts, Deke? Should the guys play or should they not play?
I think they should play. I definitely understand the side of there's momentum with the movement and having talk about social justice. And I just don't, LeBron even said this. I don't know what the correlation is. Maybe we could talk about it, what potential solutions could be. I just don't know what the correlation is between sitting out and getting the movement going. So, I don't know. And I don't know too, if it becomes a slippery slope of players starting to dictate when things happen. Because I'm not anti-player. I'm just saying there's got to be checks and balances.
Correct.
Because, all right, what happens 2-3 years down the road where something happens? I don't know. There's just some type of thing going on in the world and something's tough, and players want to sit out randomly during in the middle of the regular season. Is that going to fly? Do you want that type of stuff to be happening? So I'm all for hey, let's keep the talks going. I just think maybe the NBA could implement that somehow with the season starting back up. So if someone could tell me what the correlation is between them sitting out and keeping the movement going and or stopping, then I'd be open to listening. But I just think you can do both for sure. So
this is my dilemma. As a fan of sports, I want them to return because I want to see basketball, especially playoff basketball. I want LeBron to get this fourth ring. This is a great setup for him. But I do think that starting it up will be a distraction. And when you're talking about the correlation, this is why. When you're looking right now, right, when you turn on TV on every channel, what are you seeing? You're talking about the protests. They're talking about the different people that have been wrongfully murdered. They're talking about the different things they're trying to implement in terms of changes, in terms of policies and things like that, right? That's all we hear. Every time we turn on the TV, every time we listen to the radio, that's all we hear. Once you start playing games, especially playoff basketball, maybe the first day, maybe the second game, we'll talk about the Black Lives Matter movement. They might even, go out and do a knee during the anthem and all these other things. But after that, after those first couple of times, let's be real. What are they going to be focusing on? LeBron went for 40. LeBron had a triple double. Oh, Kawhi did this. Oh, this was an upset. And that's going to start to take over. And it's going to be less about who's protesting and what that stood for. And more so, hey, back to the traditional life is normal because the games are going on as normal. So if the games are going on, then it has to be bad good, right? And that's where you're going to have that disconnect. That's the correlation that in terms of starting back basketball, how that negatively affects that, because they're not going to be able to dominate the radio waves. They're not going to be able to dominate the media like how they're doing right now. Right now, think about for how many years for minorities, they've tried to get the attention. They've tried to talk about these issues. We talk about when Kaepernick tried to kneel and how that whole situation played out, right? Now is the time where everybody's attention is to the point that people, I'm tired of talking about that. I'm tired of talking about this social injustice. Imagine being tired of talking about it. Imagine guys being tired of living it and experiencing it. That's where we're at now. So for the people that are tired of hearing it being talked about, just put yourself in the shoes of the people who have had to deal with this since they were born, the families who have been destroyed because of these instances. So I think instead of giving people the out, instead of giving people something to turn to, so I don't have to face this anymore. No, you're not going to get that opportunity. You have to deal with this until change is made. Now, the argument that I can make against that is, at what point is enough change being made for you to return? Now, that's a different conversation. Are we saying that, hey, once this policy is implemented, now we will return? Are we saying that once this, in terms of these people are arrested, is that when we'll return? Because otherwise it's hard to just put a gauge on what, and even things just looking fair and social justice returning. What does that look like? How do you weigh that?
And I don't think you're going to have everyone in the NBA agree on what the point is.
Correct.
Because there's right now we have a divide of some people want to get back right now. Whereas even if you had the point where, all right, let's agree, let's just take a step back. There's going to be no agreement on what's the point of, all right, now we're good to return. And I think that goes back to just, maybe you can agree with this too. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just even like the slippery slope thing that I was talking to you about, where if a precedent is set, no matter how justified it is or not,
that's going to be the president going forward.
Yeah, it could just be like, man, as players, we don't feel like playing because this is happening or that's happening. And it's just like, man, you're starting to lose something that's special.
Correct.
With, the NBA and the relationship with their fans and, just brand equity with these teams and cities and play, like all that stuff could start to get lost down the road. So it is one of those things, man, where I think then with what you said though, that to counter your own point, it does seem like getting back but how can you somehow keep the conversation going with that?
Because we all know how the media works. We all know how sports works. We've seen think about when the first, I'm drawing a blank on it, but when LeBron and all the guys were coming out with the I Can't Breathe shirts, right?
Right.
When I think that was Eric Garner in New York, when that first happened, right? Remember the first couple of games, it was talked about. We saw the shirts for warm-ups. People were talking about it. And then 2 weeks later, you wouldn't even known about that anymore. You would have never even knew it happened, because then it was, hey, we focused on basketball. We focused on this sport. And it ultimately just killed any momentum that was to that until the next incident happened. So if you're trying to prevent the next one and the next one and the next one from happening, these are some of the things. But I think what needs to be done, though, when we're talking about this decision of whether or not to play, I think all the guys have to sit down and collectively say, all right, these are the things that we want accomplished prior to the game starting. If they're saying, hey, for Breonna Taylor, the officer that was related to her being killed is still walking free. If they say, hey, look, we won't come back and play until he's arrested, that's something that it's tangible. We can see that, we understand that. And now that is a check mark. Got you. Because right now, by them just saying, hey, we want to fight this fight for social justice, we want to fight this for minority to have rights and things like that, it's so broad of a concept. It's hard to weigh. Like, how do we determine what is successful, what is not successful? How do we determine what was impactful and what wasn't impactful? Are we saying we're doing this until the protests stop? Who knows how long the protests are going to go? Like, these are the things where I feel like they just need to be a little more direct in terms of what the goals are. Because if you can do that, then I'm all for, hey, all right, sit out until those things get accomplished. Because now it's a message in solidarity. It's a message that is sent nationally. And now everyone will understand they're not coming back until this thing gets fixed. I think that has to be more of the approach if they decide to sit out. But I do think for a fact, if they do come back and play, after a week of them being back, let's be real, before the playoffs even start, the 8 regular season games, you're going to get all the protesters you want. They can say whatever they want during the interviews. Once the playoffs start, man, people are going to totally forget about this. Or it's not going to be priority number 1 anymore. It's going to be down the list a lot more. And then it's going to ultimately lead back to the thing that we just came out of.
Maybe there is something to be said, though, for whenever we were talking about all this first happening, how things do seem different, where maybe this won't just be some type of distraction. Maybe somehow our consciousness will that'll still be carrying throughout.
See, I got a question for you though.
Yeah.
Because this isn't the first time this happened, right? In terms of a wrongful death, right? It's not the first time it's been caught on tape, right? The only difference between this situation and the previous situations was what? It was no sports because of COVID-19. Everybody was locked in.
Me and my friends were having a conversation.
That was the only difference
this weekend. Yeah.
This has been going on for years. Been going on years. Been video, years. Been wrongful deaths, years. We've already seen this.
Yeah.
The difference is there's always sports going on. So after you watch it for 2 days and you're upset and you're emotionally feeling it, oh, well, shoot, man, this team just won a big game. It was upset. Oh, this performance is crazy. We're not worried about that no more. That's why right now the impact is felt the way it's felt, because there is no distraction. There is no sports to turn to. when you have sports to turn to, that we talk about all the time, right? Man, I had a rough day at work. I'm able to turn this TV on and watch this sports. Hey, forget that what happened at work. Oh, I had this rough time with my wife. Hey, Bron on. All right, I'm good. That's the difference. Whereas now you don't have that. You have to face it.
That's a good point.
And that's the only reason the protests have been to the extent that they are and have continued on the way they are, because there is nothing else going on. That I mean, if you're talking about the benefit of COVID-19, that's your benefit, because the world was completely stopped.
Yeah.
So there was nothing else to talk about. There was nothing to turn to distract yourself from it. And when you talk about people saying, all right, man, you know what? I feel it a lot more this time. That's the only reason. Because if that's the case, please tell me 2 months prior to this when this young lady got killed, or 3 months prior to that when that gentleman got killed. Where was it then?
Oh, yeah.
So people just now started caring about people dying? No. People just started caring about people getting caught on video dying? No. It was nothing else going on. And that's why it's
a good point.
So when you talk about bringing a sport back, a major sport like basketball, that's what you got to be worried about, because we know how sports operate. We know how media coverage operates. We know how people as fans operate. Once they're able to take their attention off of that, man, it's gone. And once you lose this, think about the momentum right now for Black Lives Matter, right? Once that momentum is gone, you're not getting it back until the next major incident happens where everybody wants to get back on board again. So that's the only reason why I'm like, is you have to be really careful with how you proceed in that regard, but you can't just give a blanket statement of, man, we're not returning until, racism ends, or we're not returning until everybody has the same rights, because that's just too broad. If that's the case, I mean, shoot, we might not ever come back realistically.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that you brought up the point of like having a checkpoint or like a more definitive goal. I mean, that could even be tough though too.
Yeah.
But it is still something where it's like, all right, at least this is tangible. But coming off the bat, that definitely could be something tough. I like the point that you brought up just with the scenario that we're at with the whole COVID situation, and just there's nothing really going on, and the momentum is there. I guess maybe from my perspective, I'm just being a little bit naive of just like, I see the momentum going. I still think it could be something that's talked about and in our consciousness. But at the same time, you do bring up good points. We haven't had anything going on in forever. So it's like, I forget what it was like a little bit. So,
well, you think about how many people in the past 2 years have died wrongfully due to police violence, police brutality. Think about when Anthony Rose was killed here in Pittsburgh. We protested for what, a couple days? And then a month later, you would have forgot it even happened. And that was right here in Pittsburgh. So just understand, like, hey, Ferguson, that's another thing, man. You just go down the list of all these different places. Baltimore, that's another place where they rioted, burnt the city down and all that. Sports continued on. And then before you know it, you forget it even happened. That's the only reason why I'm still just like I said, half me, I want the games to come back because I'm a fan. I want to see it happen. But the other side is like, man, I understand what's going to transpire from that, because history's shown. It's shown numerous times. It's been multiple deaths in the same year, the same concept. No one talks about it, because once the games start, once you're able to distract yourself from it, that's where it's going to be, man. So it's unique, man. It's unique.
No, it definitely is. And I think, I guess you're just hoping that, because there is a lot of talking, there is a lot of just awareness and all that type of stuff, but the real stuff comes from doing stuff. You know what I mean? Yes. So
taking action.
Maybe there are people that you do see behind the scenes, no matter what happens going forward, are making those changes in their community, doing something maybe every week, every month or something, getting out and trying to make a difference, trying to like bridge the gap or whatever it is that we may not hear about. So maybe this somewhere or another is helping that ways, where we talk about tangible versus intangible, like things we can't necessarily put a stat on. Maybe that stuff will be happening. Yeah.
Well, and I want to say too, man, because I know the big name that came out was Kyrie Irving, and everybody's like, well, he's not even playing. His team's not going to have a chance. But Dwight Howard was another guy who was big in terms of not wanting to come back, and has a chance to win his first championship. He's with the Lakers with LeBron. So you see, like I said, the different perspectives of it. But then you hear Austin Rivers, who's like, man, we want to protest, but at the same time, guys need money. Yeah. Guys need checks. So that's a whole nother element. And you think about all the jobs that are associated with NBA coming back. And people want to say, well, thousands jobs. This situation is different because they're only going to be at one location in Orlando. It's not as if every city is going to have their teams back and all these workers and parking lot staff, because that was an argument I heard people try to make. Well, man, think about the thousands on thousands of jobs. That's not the situation this year because it's only going to be at one location. It's only going to be a select amount of people that are there working. So don't even act like it's so good for the economy in all these different locations, because that's not going to be the case either. So we'll see, man.
We'll see. Yeah. If you had to bet though, I'm betting I think they'll just start.
The way Patrick Beverly put it was perfect. He said, LeBron James wants to play. We're going to be playing basketball. It's that simple. It is. If LeBron said he didn't want to play, we're going to do this, I guarantee you basketball would not be starting. Man. LeBron said, and I love LeBron. Bron, my guy. You know that. Bron, I'm a dog. Bron said he want to play that. Come on, baby. What we talking about? That'd have been like if Jordan said, hey, we playing basketball. Okay, we're playing basketball. Like, it is what it is, man.
Dude, I mean, we mentioned it at the beginning. This might be his best chance for the fourth.
Yeah. Listen, if LeBron said he wants to play basketball, like Patrick Beverly said, man, we're playing basketball, baby. Yeah, what it is.
Because next year he's another year older.
Mm-hmm.
Lakers team's another year older.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be the best opportunity for him. So,
So basketball will be happening because Bron said he wants it. So I don't even know why you about to say if you had to pick. Oh man, do you think? Bron said it's happening, so it's happening.
Oh, so you're just saying it's good then?
Bron said it. It is what it is.
Okay.
They're really going. The NBA is going to say no to Bron. Not happening, bro.
Would it take? I mean, how many players would it take to equal out LeBron in terms of like voice?
Not enough.
Nothing.
Not enough. What are we talking about here, bro? This is LeBron.
Oh, yeah,
what are we talking about?
What if it was like Harden, Curry, Greek Freak? Zion could be a name. They love
Not
Zion,
bro.
Dude, Zion's in the playoffs because
versus Bron.
No, I'm saying if you combine like 5, 6, 7 guys, and they all said
Bron is the NBA, bro.
Okay, like Jordan was back in the day,
basically, bro.
Okay.
If Bron says we're playing, they're gonna be playing.
All right,
that's all I'm saying, bro. And let's be real about it. A lot of guys are gonna agree with Bron just because Bron said it, which you've already seen as well. And then that's not even talking about the guys who got the money issues either.
Well, and then you're hoping that he's legitimate when he's saying, I feel like I could play and we can all play and we can
make an impact
keep it going.
And stuff, yeah.
So if that's the case, and this goes back to just what I was saying earlier. I mean, I'm hoping that's happening. I hope I'm not too naive. You brought up good points for the other side, though.
Yeah, I think it's naive just because, let's be real. We watch some of the post-game interviews, right? We do. Some of them. But how many post-game interviews are you really going to watch when all they're talking like, man, I'm trying to Black Lives, man. We got to do this. We got to do that. You know how easy it is. Just click. All right, the game's over. I already saw who won the game. I don't have to sit here and listen to you talk. I can read the clips later.
What could be a way to get around that, though?
You'd have to do it in the middle of the game. But how are you going to do that? The platform isn't there for you. You could protest before the game. You could protest after the game. But during the game, what you can put a patch on?
Yeah. But
it's not going to have the same impact. The commentators are going to talk about it, but it's still not going to be as exciting as when they're breaking down the plays, which is what they're paid to do.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking more of stuff outside of it, but you're right. You don't want it to just be something that's being said and then just people are like, all right, we saw the game. We don't need to do anything.
Because let's be real about it. How easy would that be? People love TNT, like the post-game show with Chuck, Shaq, and all those guys, right? But it's still times where you're like, man, I'm not about to watch this. Click. Like, regardless of what they were going to say, regardless of how in-depth they were going to go, if they were going to say some outlandish, you can just say, hey, man, I don't have to worry about it. I already watched the game. I saw what I wanted to see.
Could it be some type of collab with the players outside of it? I don't know. Where there is something more impactful that could be done while things are going on.
People talk about their platform. Stuff. Their platform is their biggest during the game. They have the most attention during the game. Not before the game, not after the game. During the game.
Interviews potentially?
You're not doing interviews during the game.
No, you're not doing them during the game, but you could have interviews done before the game, weeks before the game, whatever, about, I don't know, about this type of stuff where perspectives can be had and they're played throughout the game potentially. Okay. I don't know.
Like but you got your 8. But so you got your 8 regular season games, and then you have your playoffs, which are regular series as well. It ain't gonna be that many interviews, baby.
I don't know.
And for them to play, are they going to play the interviews the whole game or just different segments of the game?
No, I definitely think it would have to be something creative. I just think there'd be multiple lanes for it, whether it is social media stuff, like a social media thing every week, maybe. Maybe there's, I don't know, a day for certain things. And
I just don't think it's going to have the same impact, man, personally.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, understood. Because you definitely brought up good points where nothing's going on, and that could be the escape. Where I'm just hoping that it's not, where it's just like both things could be happening at the same time. But I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah, so we'll see, man. We will see.
That was actually, we were hesitant on. I thought it was a dope conversation.
No, man, it was, man. Shout out to you, baby. You brought it up, man. Hey,
I did.
Believe it next time, man.
I think you brought it up.
Nah, you brought it up, bro.
No way.
You brought it up. You was like, I want to talk this today, and I was like, bro, I watched First Take this morning. I got pissed off. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to talk about this no more. I'm good. So yeah, that's where I was with this day. But thank you for bringing it up, man. I'm glad we're in a good space.
Okay. Yeah, I thought we had a good talk about it.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Productive, very productive. Yeah. So now, man, the final thing we're going to be talking about, NFL. Oh, Adam Sheen. I think that's his name. Sheen.
I have no clue.
Shine,
Never
Sheen.
heard of this guy before.
Serious, bro. He's like a Steeler hater too, bro. He always he loved the Browns. Always poo-poos the Steelers a bit, man. So he put a ranking out for the NFL's worst to first candidates based on division in the NFL. So just to name off the list, at number 1, he has the Detroit Lions. At number 2, he has the LA Chargers. Number 3, the Arizona Cardinals. Number 4, the Miami Dolphins. Number 5, the Washington Redskins. At number 6, the Carolina Panthers. And at number 7, the Cincinnati Bengals. And then at number 8, the Jacksonville Jaguars. So all 8 of those teams finished last in their division. And what he's saying are these are the guys who have the best chances, ranking them in terms of being able to jump from worst to first. So when I first think about the Detroit Lions, man, just off break.
Do you have your top 3? Do you...
In terms of what?
Like, are you gonna just go from each team? Are you gonna say...
I was gonna go from each team.
Okay.
Yeah. So like with the Lions, for example, I don't think that necessarily they're gonna make that jump just because when I think of the Green Bay Packers, they're not going anywhere. They're still a tough team. Obviously, you have the Minnesota Vikings as well. And they still, I mean, when you look at the piece that they have, they still got your boy Kirk Cousins out there, man. You know what I mean? So they're still they're still fine, offense and defense. So I think it's a 2-horse race in terms of that division. I do know Matthew Stafford coming back is going to be huge for the Lions. And as much as I believe in Stafford returning, I have an issue with how the Lions run their organization, man. The coaching staff, the management, they get creative with their ways of messing it up. Think Cleveland. They are like the Cleveland of the NFC North. That is just weird. That's how they are. Even though they have talent, Stafford is crazy talented. They just find ways to mess it up, man. I do think that the Lions, though, will be better than the Bears because I don't believe in Trubisky. Now, if Nick Foles comes in and he can emulate or replicate that playoff magic in the regular season, that's different. But we haven't seen Nick Foles outside of the 1 year where he got the Pro Bowl. I personally think that was more gimmick and scheme than him
the
per
Chip
se.
Kelly year.
Correct. We haven't seen him over a 16-game body of work be the reason that a team is winning. So with that being said, man, I don't think the Lions are going to be that best. You know what I mean? That worst to first, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you going to are you going to wait with the Lions?
Yeah. Do you got anything?
Hold on. Wait, are we going to like give our top 3 or our number 1?
Well, I was let's react to it first, and then we give and then we rank them after that.
Okay.
Is that cool with you?
Yeah. I'm actually a little higher on the Lions than you.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think the Matt Stafford coming back has some legs for sure. And whenever he was playing, I know what was their record before he got hurt? It was like 3-4.
Yes.
They could have easily been 5-2-1, maybe even like 6-2.
Yeah, very true.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. I know that, but I just think the Lions were playing pretty well before he went down.
Yeah.
They got Swift. They finally got, hopefully, a decent running back. I don't know the last time they've had actually a running back there that you could count on.
Bad.
Maybe Reggie Bush. I mean, he had a good run there, but that was like, 8 or 9 years ago. Mm-hmm. So then Kenny Galladay, they got some weapons on offense.
Yeah.
Is Hawkinson going to take a step up?
Right.
And their defense is so-so. They don't have the biggest names there. They did draft Okuda. I'm more down on the rest of the NFC North, actually.
Ooh,
that's kind of why. If Lions can come back and just somewhat play the same ball they were playing last year, I think Vikings are down. They're getting worse. Cousins sucks. I already laid that out there to everyone many times.
But Dalvin Cook though.
Well, this is going to be a mess for them with him wanting the money. Like, it's good for him. Like, he should get all the money that he wants. But as a team with the Vikings, usually that doesn't spell the best for team chemistry going forward. So I'm down on the Vikings. I think they've always been overrated. I'm down on them too. Although I think they could be like 10-6 or so.
I think worst case 10-6. They didn't get worse.
I think they'll be all right. I just don't think they improved too much, and I think they're going to come back to the middle because that 13-3 was a little deceptive, I think.
But they were 13-3 with Aaron Rodgers having a down year. They relied solely on their defense.
Well, that's another thing.
And this is another year for Aaron Rodgers in that system with Matt LaFleur.
Do you think Rodgers is going to get better next year? That's a question.
For me, I personally do. I think anytime you're going through that first year of offense, that first year under transition, it is difficult at times. And I think now that he's going to have another year, but obviously things are going to be different just because of this offseason. But I do think he's going to be a lot more comfortable going into this season, and he's obviously healthy again. So I think for me, I'm a lot higher on the Packers and what their offense can bring just because of that. Knowing that last year, man, they were doing that with just defense and running the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Rodgers is one of those guys, in my opinion, that even if he has a so-called down year, I think he's still going to be Rodgers. Mm-hmm. Now the question is, how much better is he going to be? So 10-6. I just don't think. I just think 13-3 last year was perhaps a little bit of a mirage. There's some stats backing that up where they were skating by a little bit, but they did make the NFC Championship game. They still have Aaron Rodgers, so I definitely think they're making the playoffs.
Okay,
I just think the rest of the division's down, and like the Bears, like you said, I predicted their downfall last year, and they're going to keep sliding down if they keep Trubisky in there.
Trubisky's terrible.
Whoa! I've never heard that harsh of a criticism coming from you.
I'm not a Trubisky guy, bro. I'm not.
So the Bears are down, and I think I did this whole thing on TikTok. I've been going team by team and just giving like a quick breakdown. And with the Lions, their over/under was 6.5, and I said they'll at least get the over. I think they'll get 7 or 8. But this is saying worst to first.
Yeah,
chance to be first in the division. All right.
That's my thing. I don't see them taking over the division, honestly.
Taking over the division. Okay. I see them getting maybe 8 wins.
I think so. I think Stafford's going to get you 8 or 9.
Potentially being in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We got to break down the rest of these teams because honestly, I'm not really high on the rest of these teams.
Now, see, the number 2 team, the LA Chargers, I'm extremely high on.
Wow.
I am. But and when I tell you why, this is the whole situation. So obviously, Phillip Rivers took a huge step back last year. He was at sometimes just flat out awful. Like, hey, he shouldn't be out there. I think at worst, Tyrod Taylor, who's proven he is a Pro Bowl quarterback, has proven that he can be just a good quarterback. I think that screams a lot. And then also you bring in Justin Herbert. I think we already know what type of talent he is. And if he does get up to speed in time, he has a chance to do something special out there. But from an offensive standpoint, Austin Eckler, they got a deal done with him. He's good to go. We know from a defensive standpoint, they're bringing back Derwin James, who to me, you debate 1 and 2 in terms of safeties in the league between him and Minka. Like, that's where it is.
Jamal Adams in there probably.
It's absolutely Jamal Adams is in there. For me, I'm a Derwin James guy. Like, I just love his game. I love his game. Now, Minka, like I said, I put him just either however you want to take him, Derwin or Minka. You can't go wrong with either one. That's that. But for me, when I think of that, and I also think of the young Bosa out there as well, man, what they have on defense, along with what they're going to be having on offense this year with just competent quarterback play. Yeah. For me, I'm very high. The problem is the division they're in.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
How do I put them above the Chiefs? Like, I can't.
No. Yeah. Worst to first, definitely not. Yeah. And I think the Raiders are kind of underrated in that division.
I think the Raiders are underrated, but I think the Chargers have the better team, more complete team. But that's my whole thing. I'm like, man, you're not overthrowing the Chiefs. No. Not happening.
Well, I just think this team's overhyped all around, dude. Wow. Herbert, Tyrod Taylor, too many questions at quarterback. I just don't see it there.
So for me, I don't really see those as questions. I feel like if Phillip Rivers is still the quarterback, it's questions surrounding Phillip. Like when I think of the Colts, that's a major question.
I think Rivers is going to have a better season than either one of those two, though. I'm not saying he didn't have a bad year. I don't know what the reasons are. I'm not sitting at my house watching the Chargers, although I am this year because
Some people say it's physical ability.
I said I'm going to watch every regular season game this year, so I will be able to give a more clear breakdown of all these other teams. But no, I just think these guys are overhyped. And even Eckler, dude, I would feel better with him as the number one running back if Rivers was there. I don't feel good about him being the number one guy with the uncertainty at quarterback. Although you see it as certainty, I'm just not the biggest fan of either guy going into this season. And the defense is decent. I just think there's too much hype coming with this team. And I guess with the Herbert draft and the new jerseys going to LA, new stadium, I'm not feeling it, dude. I'm just not because the Chiefs.
Shout out to how'd you feel about the new jerseys? You like them?
Their new jerseys are really sweet. I
like them. They
really sweet. Yeah, Chiefs are just going to win this division, dude.
Yeah.
I think there's another team that's getting too hyped in this division, and it's I'll just say it right now, it's the Broncos. They're getting way too hyped.
Yes, the Drew Lock train I'm not on right now, bro.
It's getting too much.
I'm not
on it. That's why I said with the Rage, I think they could be a sleeper team for that number 2 spot, but I don't like either their quarterbacks either. I'm a quarterback guy, dude. So.
We know. Trust me, if anybody knows Deke's a quarterback guy, we the people know. We definitely know.
Yeah, so the only quarterback in that division is Mahomes. Verdict's still out on lock, but come on, dude. Yeah. We'll be 5 weeks from him. There's too much hype. There's way too much hype with Denver. But yeah, the Chargers, I'm not big on them either.
Okay, see, I'm bigger on the Chargers right now, man. All right, next you got the Arizona Cardinals, man. So when I'm looking at their division, I got some more issues, man. Because at the top, dude, with the Niners and Seahawks, like, man, we know what both of those teams are. Super consistent. One was in the Super Bowl, one 11-5, and let's be real about it. They're only going to get better. Yeah. Well, because see, for me, I'm not a Rams guy right now. I feel like the Rams were overhyped, bro. I'm telling you for a fact. Even last year, I was like, thank you. This is starting. Reality is starting to show. I'm not a golf guy either. I'm not either. I'm not. And yeah, if I'm picking, I'm like the Rams. Nah, buddy, yo, you got rid of Gurley. Hey, man, you're starting to lose more talent each and every year. Your window is over. They're done. They're done. The window is over, man. So for me, I think the Cardinals probably finished third in that division, but it's hard for me to see them overtaking the Seahawks or the Niners.
Definitely.
I mean, I understand the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. I think that is going to be huge. I like him a lot. I think Kyler Murray, you can expect him to be a lot more comfortable and take another step forward. Defensively, they still got some question marks.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a bad dude in Chandler Jones. We know that.
Yeah, we talked about that whenever we were playing them last year. Yeah, it's mainly the division. And I know you're down on the Rams, but at the same time, I'm just thinking, all right, they're the Rams. I don't really see them going away in terms of at least competition with the Cardinals. Like that, or do you think Cardinals are just going to blow them out?
I think it's going to be them.
Whoa, man. What's this, a 4-12 year for the Rams?
I don't know what it is for the Rams, man. They just, I don't know. They'll probably get 6 wins out of it somehow, some way.
I think at least 8.
Yeah.
But it's going to be tough sledding for the Cardinals, I think.
I don't think so.
You think they'll get, 7 or 9?
I think so.
8? Something like that?
I don't think. I think 7 or 8 wins. Yeah.
Okay, but still, worst to first.
We both
agree
no
with them
way they're
there.
doing that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on the same page. I actually don't really have much bad to say about them. Yeah, like you said, maybe the defense a little bit, but it's just more the division. The Niners and the Seahawks. Although I do think the Niners are going to slide a little this year. I did say that earlier. I still feel that way.
And that's fine with them sliding a little, but sliding a little from 13 wins, I still see them being a 10-win team.
Yeah.
They're still making the playoffs.
And then you got Russell.
Yeah.
They're gonna get 10, 11, 12 wins no matter what.
So that's my whole perspective of this.
So
now the team we're probably the most optimistic about
this
potentially making the worst the first. Yeah. Got the Miami Dolphins, baby. Got the Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
They've made some moves. The draft was really good for them. They brought in some key pieces. But the biggest reason why I guess I'm most optimistic about them is because of their division. With Brady leaving, the thing is opened up. We understand in Buffalo, I think, is the favorite to win that division.
Yep.
But they still haven't done it just yet, though. And that's the thing. Yeah, but they haven't done it just yet. So until they do it, it still is open. And with the Patriots, we know they're still going to be competent. I don't want people to think, oh, man, Brady's gone. They're only going to win 4 games. You got to remember, shoot, with Belichick, he's won 11 games with Matt Castle. He went 5-0 with the combination
Garoppolo
and Brissett. So anytime Belichick is involved, their defense is still going to be top notch. They still are going to find ways to be in these games and win these games, and they always operate with high level execution. So for me, that's still a team that's going to be in there. But I think the Dolphins probably have the best chance to make that jump.
Just more based on the division.
The division, along with the talent, and when you think about Brian Flores,
they definitely made a run late last year.
And that was in the middle of them supposed to be tanking and being trash.
Yeah.
So with that being the case, I know number one, Brian Flores can coach his tail off.
Yep.
But I also know that they have pieces in place. They have a quarterback that can win you games in Ryan Fitzpatrick. But if Tua is up to speed, I mean, they're saying that he's healthy. If Tua gets out there, he gets up to speed, that's a wild card. We know how good he could be when healthy.
Yes, the Tua thing is
defense. They are stacked right now. Have you seen their defense, dude? They spent a ton of money, but they brought in some guys.
They brought
in Byron
Patriots
Jones.
Dude,
Byron Jones,
Van Noy, right?
Yeah, they brought in Cal Van Noy, who we saw during the Super Bowl run for the Patriots. And was that 19? I want to say it was.
I don't remember. He's a good player.
18. But he was a huge impact player. They brought in Byron Jones out of Dallas, paid him like crazy. They still have Xavier Howard. I mean, dude, they got some dogs, man.
So in a world where, so this is how I see them winning that division. Mm-hmm. Bills are overhyped coming into the season.
Okay, and you still try to concede hate on the Bills. Cool.
They fall flat on their face with the hype and go 8-8. Okay. The Jets keep sucking, and the Patriots, they just can't really seem like they're, like you said, they're not completely out of it, but they're plugging along. They're competitive. They go 7-9, 8-8. Yeah. Tua has to be the starter for them to win the division. I don't know why. I think it has to be a rookie, like, magical season for Tua.
You're just a storyline guy.
I don't see Fitzpatrick being able to do it and win a division for a whole season.
Fair enough.
That's all. I mean, I could see him maybe playing the first 4 games. He goes 2-2, and you're just like, all right, it's time to get Tua in there. And then he goes on a crazy run, kind of like Big Ben with the Steelers. You know, those awesome rookie seasons that go down in history. That's what's going to have to happen. For Tua and the Dolphins.
The thing that would work for both of those teams, though? They were loading on defense, huh?
We won 6-10 the year before, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Bro. I don't know what to tell you, dude.
Good, baby. I'm just, don't shoot the messenger, baby. I'm just putting out the facts.
There was an X factor.
I'm just putting out the facts, baby.
So that's how I see the Dolphins doing that. How probable is that? I'm not sure. I mean, I could see it happening just because, as we mentioned, some of these divisions, that division's probably least certain compared to all the other ones. Correct. I'd say.
Well, for me, I think of this too, man. I know just through the history of that division, the Bills and Dolphins, they always split. They always back and forth with it. So I think that does play a factor in why I do think that they could still get in there. I'm not saying that I think the Bills are still going to be in the playoffs, period. But I do think that the Dolphins have the best chance because of how they match up with the Bills. Flores, his familiarity with the Bills, being a former Patriot guy as well, is just a lot of pieces that make it an interesting and unique matchup. But at the end, I do think the Bills still are the front runner because they have the better team from top to bottom.
Yeah, they're definitely favorites right now. But we'll get into who we actually think wins the division probably as closer to the season.
It shouldn't even matter, right? Because you're going to say the Steelers are winning the division over the Ravens anyways. They're going to win the Super Bowl.
You said 16-0, man.
Well, yes, because I said I'm not being analytical no more. I'm not going to just break it down like that anymore. I'm just giving you the straight Deke over just period. They're beating everybody by 50. That's my approach. Okay.
Yeah. So we're on the same page then.
But outside of this room, there are people that could make a stronger case for the Ravens. That's all I'm saying, baby. That's all I'm saying.
And that's fine. I'm not even going to call them dumb either because they were a good team last year.
But the Bills, though, they weren't a good team last year. No, not at all. Or the year before that.
They were a good team last year. I have admitted that too. They were a good team.
No, it was like pulling teeth.
It's not someone I want to put my money on. That's all I'm saying.
Pulling a tooth to get it out you, man.
I'm not putting my money on them for big winning. I'll tell you that.
And here we go with this broad. The Titans won the AFC Championship game last year, and that's not even big winning. So I don't even know what big, unless it's a Super Bowl, I don't know what big winning is.
It didn't feel like big winning. It felt like big choking from the other teams.
They went into New England and won. They went into Baltimore and won. What are we talking about? If that's not big winning, I don't know what is.
It just felt like big choking from the other teams. That's all. And then and the Titans getting lucky, and they were exposed in the AFC Championship game. It's as simple as that.
Exposed to the Super Bowl champs. Like what? That doesn't make sense.
They were just exposed all around.
Okay.
And we know that they're not going to do it. They're going to be like Jacksonville that year they went to the AFC Championship with
Fair
Bortles.
enough, man.
I'm telling you right now.
All right. Hey, that's fine.
They overpaid for Tannehill. They're going to regret that.
Okay.
They're going down the tubes here.
Okay.
You know, we talk about powerhouse organizations. Titans are one of them.
This past 3 years, I ain't going there with you, man.
I don't care about what I know you were going to say something about the playoffs. I never felt they were actually had a shot to win.
Man. I'm just saying.
No one did.
The past 3 years,
anyone in their right
a certain
mind,
team has been in there and a certain team has not been in there.
Win or go home. It's as simple as that.
Man. All right, man. Cool. Yeah. It's all good, baby. I'm not tripping.
I know. Dude.
All right. So the 5th team, you got the Washington Redskins. Now,
they got them too high.
Yeah, their division is open, but
you're right. Actually, you're right because the other team's divisions. I'm looking at this is a lot tougher. But
I mean, Cowboys okay, but you really got to see what's going to happen with Dak.
I mean, I could see 8-8 winning that division, or 9-7.
That's what I'm saying. Like legit, yeah.
That's how it usually is.
Giants, depending on if you're a believer in Daniel Jones or not. Philly, they made some moves this offseason.
Yeah, Philly or Cowboys are probably the two favorites, but you're not. Are you saying either team going in, even if you're a fan of those teams, are you saying they're getting over 10 wins for sure?
I can't. Right.
So, yeah, your probable win projection for both those teams are around 8 or 9 wins.
Yeah. Which the Redskins could do. They have a new coach in Ron Rivera who's been successful, very successful. They do have Chase Young. Depending on what the quarterback
I don't think there's much else, though.
Quarterback situation is going to dictate a lot too. Dwayne Haskins, or if they're going to go with Kyle Allen, just from the familiarity standpoint. So,
yeah, I don't think you're feeling too good about either, but you definitely got to give Haskins the shot. You can't. But
wait a minute now. The dude got Montez Sweat, right? Yeah.
Nah, dude. There's nothing about this squad that.
All right. Okay.
There's nothing about this squad I'm feeling too good about.
Kerrigan, he can ball. Kerrigan can't ball now. Don't you go there. Don't you do that. Don't you?
Where's the first? The argument is
is their division wide open?
That's it. No? Yeah, that's all you're really going off.
So they technically could. They have a great opportunity in that.
They don't
division,
have
man.
much on offense though.
They are hurting on offense, and they just lost Trent. So
they don't have much on offense.
Yeah, but Ron Rivera is used to operating with just a talented quarterback and making everything else work.
I was gonna say if Haskins can have a Jared Goff type of year too, where he just comes out of nowhere, like he had a terrible year one, but then it's like he flips the switch, which I don't know. Could it happen under a new coach? I don't know. Yeah. I think that's all you're really banking on, but there's way more uncertainty there than any of these other teams, in my opinion.
Absolutely. All right.
All you're banking on is division, and then this next team, there's no shot.
Carolina, it's not happening.
Although they could be like,
no, it's not happening.
No, not in terms of winning division. They could. I see. This is what I was saying. This is one of those teams I did. Their over under was like 5.5 or 6.
Yeah,
I could see them maybe sneaking in 7 games somehow.
Okay, they could get their 7 games.
I don't know how. Yeah, they're not winning.
I would say, which team are they better than in the division?
No, none of them. None of them. Exactly.
That's gonna be tough because we know for a fact Bucks are gonna be upgraded. That's 7 wins from last year. That's gonna get upgraded. The Saints are the Saints,
and Falcons are gonna win 7 or 8 wins every time.
Yeah, always.
That's their floor. That's their floor.
Yeah, man. So I understand Teddy Bridgewater. Honestly, he's probably the 4th best quarterback in the division still.
Definitely. Yeah.
Matt Rule, depending on how you feel about him.
Yeah, could he turn it around that quick? Does he have that magic that he can bring in there? But
then on top of that, I think about this offseason, that factors into it because he hasn't had a chance to give those guys that magic. He hasn't had a chance to let them feel his energy, be more hands-on with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not feeling good about this team for the worst of first. I feel, like I said, I feel good about them making...
From a talent standpoint, how do you feel about them? Because I personally... they lost Cam Newton's gone, and you got to think about
I think
and Kuechly's gone.
I think they downgraded at quarterback for sure.
They definitely downgraded on defense too.
Yeah.
Kuechly, Mario Addison is gone as well.
There might be something. DJ Moore's starting to come into his own, and then McCaffrey's just a beast. And
fair enough.
Here's the thing: I definitely like Cam over Teddy, but if somehow Teddy is Rule's guy, that he feels like, all right, I can run this perfect system through him, then maybe it could look like a better offense under. I don't know. I'm stretching a little bit, but for some reason it's just the whole new coach coming in. Maybe they mix things up. They're trying to do that whole analytics. Approach.
That's the new
I don't
wave.
know. It could be one of those sneaky teams that just can be in a lot of close games. I don't think they're gonna actually make real noise this year. Maybe make some, little sputtering noise or whatever. Just
I need to get you to define make noise, it factor, big winning, just so we got because. You say that they could probably make some noise, but if I asked you, did the Bills make noise? It was times last year like they're not making any noise, and I'm like, they're still winning.
a lot of it has to do with expectations, and
we're gonna get you to draw this up. You're gonna draw this up for us.
There's no expectations for them.
Yeah, you're gonna draw this up for us though.
So they could be. What I mean is they could be a team kind of like the Dolphins at the end of last year, where they're in competition with teams like you're having good games. I didn't
the Dolphins making noise last year.
At the end of last year,
it still wasn't making noise. It's just they were winning. Making noise to me is like, oh, you're a playoff team or you're in the conversation.
No, they were making some noise and telling you, hey, watch out for us in the future. That was that type of noise.
Yeah,
that was that type of noise.
I don't hear that type of noise then.
There's certain noise where it's like, this season, watch out for us. We're making noise this season.
Okay.
Dolphins noise last year was coming a little bit farther away. It's like, watch out for us next year.
We got you down the line.
That's the type of noise I see the Panthers potentially making this year.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, no shot at the division at all.
Not a chance.
No shot.
This next team doesn't have a shot either. In my book, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, yeah, no shot.
I understand. I mean, you bring in Joe Burrow from a receiver standpoint. I love their receiving core, though. Golly, if AJ Green is healthy, him with Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, they got a chance to be special. Like I said, if AJ Green is healthy, obviously, I'm a big Joe Mixon fan from what he does on the field.
Best receivers in the AFC North?
Between them and Cleveland?
Does Deontay make the Deontay Juju and James Washington versus AJ Green, Boyd,
Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins?
Odell Beckham, Landry. They don't have a third guy though.
But nobody in the division outside of AJ Green is even close to OBJ's spectrum of star power.
Yeah.
So that's why like for me, I say OBJ because it was the equivalent of like when it was AB and Juju. Mm-hmm. Like regardless of who else you was lining up,
you could throw whoever at the third spot.
Right. Like you knew.
AB they do have Hooper as tight end too, but we're talking just receivers.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because we know what AJ Green, when healthy, AJ Green is a top 5, top 10 receiver at worst. Tyler Boyd has proven that he's a really good receiver, regardless of quarterback play too.
Are we giving it to Browns right now then?
Just because we don't know what T.
Rookie. Yeah. If you're projecting, I'd project Steelers, but.
See, now why would you project Steelers? Because if we're projecting...
I think Deontay is going to go off, and I think Juju's bouncing back.
For me, I think that T. Higgins is another form of AJ Green. Okay. And I think the same concept, if I'm going to take the approach that Juju's bouncing back, I have to keep the same energy when they talk about AJ Green because they both got the same arguments. Injury and quarterback play. So if I'm going to be a believer in Juju, I got to be a believer in AJ. When I think about Tyler Boyd, I'm like, okay, I think that he's better than James Washington, but I think Deontay has a higher ceiling for him.
Yeah.
But then when I think T. Higgins, I think T. Higgins has a chance to be special.
Okay.
And that's why with that whole situation.
Interesting. So you would project. See, a lot of it depends on Burrow, though, then.
It does, yeah, but a lot of that depends on Ben, too.
Yeah, but that's a certainty in my book. But
okay, but people will say Joe Burrow being the number 1 overall pick and what he did at LSU and the best collegiate season ever.
Trust me. I heard a bunch of that whenever I said I'd take Daniel Jones over him right now.
Yeah.
Trust me.
So for me, I'm like, hey.
And that's even whenever we had that discussion, I said I'd prefer Burrow over Tua.
Yeah.
But I got all that backlash for the Daniel Jones thing, dude.
Like, that's for me. I think T. Higgins is special. We saw what he did at Clemson as well. And I think there was between T. Higgins versus a Chase Claypool, right? Because people have said, well, man, I'm hyped about Chase Claypool. I think he's going to be this, this, and this. If you're that hyped for Chase, I'm even hyper for T because of, number one, we know for a fact, it wasn't a mystery of his time. You know he plays fast. You know he makes comeback catch. You know he shows up in big games. We already said if they didn't tell you what Chase Claypool ran, you would have not have guessed it was a 4.4. Because when you cut the tape on it, doesn't show. And I think that's just the difference with that. Whereas with T, I mean, T was the 33rd overall pick. So he's essentially a first rounder. Let's be real about it. And if the receiving room wasn't as stacked this year, this draft class, he probably would have went higher. So for me, that's why I'm still a lot higher on the Bengals receiving core, if all healthy, because that's the biggest thing with AJ Green right now, if healthy. But if we're operating with the mindset that he will be healthy, that's a very, very formidable group, man.
Okay. Yeah, but we both agree, though.
But they're not.
No shot. Steelers and Ravens.
Yes, it's a two-horse
They're worse
race.
than the Browns, even.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think the Browns, I mean, depending on who you talk to, people throwing them in that mix in terms of three-horse race.
I've heard it too much.
Me too. You can't. It's kind of like when you say 16-0 every year. It's like, all right, bro. I don't believe it no more. it's not happening.
What do you mean? People trying to hype the Browns too much?
I'm just saying, some people say 15-1 too many times, and it's like, bro, I'm not believing.
I said 13-3 this year.
You try to change it. I'm just simply saying that people have said these things over and over, and it's like, all right, I heard it too much. It's not happening. Get out of here. That's all.
Who's doing that?
I don't know. I don't want to name drop. You know me. I got sources. But yeah, man, I just don't think that. I mean, when you're talking about the division, 2-horse race, 3-horse at best. But Cincinnati's definitely the 4th best team in that division.
They're rebuilding.
Yeah. And then this last team. Woo-wee. This last team here. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Oddly enough,
our division's garbage, in my opinion.
I was going to say, they do probably, I mean, them and the Redskins probably have the best chance in terms of the division, because the Texans, we said they're finding ways to get rid of high quality assets and not getting good return on that. The Titans, I mean, you feel like they're trash. I still think they're a good team because over the past 3 years, that's what it says. But they still aren't the runaway favorite. Even last year, with them being the most successful they've had, they still were 9-7. Like, think about it. That was their regular season record, 9-7. And then you got the Colts. The Colts, I think, are the most complete team. Mm-hmm. Offense, defense, they have everything you want there. The biggest question mark is Phillip Rivers, though.
For some reason, I believe, Phillip, that he's going to come back and be good.
That's because you like those styles. I mean, anybody in that court, I'm sure if Eli was playing, you'd be like, I think Eli's going to come back, man. I think he's got it, man. Him, Eli, and Ben. And, oh, gosh. They're great. They got it.
Is it something to my childhood? Or
it is,
something
bro.
To knowing
nostalgia.
Yeah, something to knowing at least. What does he have? He has like 7 or 8 Pro Bowls or something like that. So like I've seen it, and it's just you don't really want to believe it's over yet. Even though I don't like Rivers, I just don't. It's something about. There. I know that era, and I know that style of quarterback. Like you said, I know what Rivers brings to the table. And I heard an interview by him. He was like, you know what? I still feel like I have it left in the tank.
In fact, he said he was mad that people were doubting him. I'm like, hey,
that's what I mean. For some reason, I believe him.
You don't want us to doubt you? Prove it. That's it, man.
For some reason, I believe him. For some reason, I know
what I saw on tape. That's it.
For some reason, I believe him. I don't know why. Yeah. So actually, I would probably give them the nod in that division. And I think Jacksonville's just the worst in that division. Although
they're gonna have a chance, man.
Yeah. Who knows? Is Minshew gonna take a step up? Is Fournette gonna be hungry in his contract year here and just go off?
Defensively, now they've continued to lose pieces on that side of the ball, but it's that division is pretty open, man.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Would you say that the AFC South was more open than the NFC East?
Ooh, yeah. Just because there is uncertainty with the Rivers thing. Yeah. As much as I want to say, I believe he's going to come back. That could very well not happen. And then I don't believe in the Titans, and I don't believe in the Texans.
Now, is your disbelief in the Titans stronger than your belief in Jacksonville?
I have no belief in Jacksonville.
Okay.
But if you're saying there's a chance, or if there's a shot, they have a good shot because of their division.
See, for me, I believe in the Titans.
I picked Jacksonville to win the damn division last year. I can't believe that, dude.
For me, I believe in the Titans a lot more, I think, than Jacksonville. But I'm more confident in the Colts as a whole because worst case, if Phillip just mentally, he's ahead of any other quarterback in that division.
Yeah.
And I understand you. Hey, well, what about Deshaun Watson? Deshaun Watson is definitely on a trajectory to do special things, but body of work right now, Phillip. I mean, for me, what
Patriots are going to end up getting him somehow. Watch.
Oh, Deshaun?
Yeah. O'Brien's doing too many trades.
That would be dope.
I could see it happening.
That would be dope.
Although they should be trying to sign Cam right now. I don't really understand that. So.
Or maybe they're tanking for Tua. I mean, not taking for Tua, taking for Trevor. Excuse me.
Oh man, dude, whoever gets him, like they hit the lottery, dude.
Imagine if the Patriots is tanked this year and they get him.
That's not happening.
I'm just saying,
that's not in that's not in Belichick DNA.
Know. He's a schemer. He's a planner.
He's a schemer in that
big time schemer.
I want to show that I could prove out to everyone that I can win with Stidham. That's what he's trying to scheme.
Are you sure?
I do think
or he's saying, look, man, Stidham, I'm gonna put this battery in your back. You go out there, no OTAs, and crash this car real quick so we get this insurance claim. Scammer.
I don't think he views a team like that.
Yeah.
Because I think Brady would have been treated differently throughout his career.
Yeah, I don't think he's not on that approach either.
Where it's like, this one guy's going to change our franchise. I think he's like, no, it's a team, and every part is replaceable.
Rightfully so. So if we're ranking these three, then we're going to rank
top three.
Wow. Who you got, man?
Actually, I'm going with the Lions at 1.
Okay.
No. To win the division?
Yeah.
See, I think they have the best shot to make the playoffs.
See, because I definitely agree. I think Detroit makes the playoffs. I think
division?
Either the Chargers or the Cardinals are going to make the playoffs. I personally think it's going to be the Chargers, though.
In my top 3, so I gotta dissect this. Lions and Dolphins, I'll say, are in my top 3.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, dude. Jeez, oh man. I really don't like the Chargers. I can't say the Cardinals because that division's too strong.
Uh-huh.
Do I have to say Redskins or Jaguars then?
Ooh, you nasty.
It does feel gross.
You so nasty.
Minshew with the mustache, or do I go with the Redskins? Oh man. I think that division's worse. I think that AFC South is worse.
Yeah.
I don't feel as good about the Redskins going up against the Cowboys and Eagles and then even Giants with Jones and Barkley.
Yeah.
Man. Am I really going to say Jaguars? So I'm sticking to Chargers. They're out of it. And the Cardinals. I got to stick to that.
Yeah, because the Chargers, the only issue is, man,
Panthers
they have the
Bengals,
Chiefs in there,
chance.
bro. If the Chargers,
I'm gonna say Jaguars. I have to. It's gonna be Lions, Dolphins, and Jaguars. Wow, I did not think that was gonna be said out of my mouth.
See, for me, I got Dolphins. I got the Lions at 2, and then my third one, man. Like I said, I'm a believer in the Chargers, baby. I am. And this is the thing too. All we need is just one step back, something janky to go around, a Super Bowl hangover or whatever it may be. Different conversation. That's it. So for me, that's why I'm like, you know what, Chargers? I know how complete y'all are. And I know the quarterback was the biggest issue. And at worst, I know Tyrod can play a lot better than what Phillip did last year. I know that. And their defense is going to be a lot better this year because Derwin James will be back for the whole season. Imagine our defense pre-Minka versus post-Minka. That's the impact of a Derwin James.
Okay.
So.
Okay, dude.
That's where I'm at with that, buddy.
I'm saying no shot for the Chargers, though.
I thought you were going to say Cincinnati on your list, bro.
Cincy?
Nah, I'm messing.
Come on, dude.
Yeah,
I got to spit those facts here. Yeah. And it's just not their year.
Yeah, it's not happening, bro. But no, it was fun, though, man. It was a good podcast, baby.
I had a lot of fun, dude.
Yes, indeed.
I really enjoyed that.
Man, hey, so look, man, we got a very, very fun interview on the end of this podcast, man. Henry Clark. Henry Clark, man, was the head coach, vice president of basketball operations for the Harlem Globetrotters. Who doesn't love the Harlem Globetrotters, man? So that was a fun interview, man. Talks about that whole situation. Also, man, he's the uncle to an NFL pass rusher that's been balling out in the league, man. So stay tuned, man. You definitely want to hear that interview. You will love it. It was a fun conversation, man.
Yeah, this was a fun conversation. Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely, man. This
Appreciate
is what we do,
the
baby.
Listeners, too. So,
yes, indeed, man. And the viewers, man. Subscribers, all that good stuff, man. Shout y'all all out. Y'all the real ones.
Thank you for tuning in.
And until next time.
Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, very, very excited about this next guest we're coming on to the podcast. He was the former head coach of Cal State Bakersfield, and he was also a 3-time Division II national champion as a coach. He was also the former head coach / vice president of basketball operations for the Harlem Globetrotters. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Henry Clark. Henry, man, first off, man, I appreciate you taking some time to hop on the podcast with us, baby.
Oh, well, thank you. Hey, not a problem. Look forward to it.
Yes, indeed, man. So, I mean, I think we got to hop right into this thing talking about your collegiate coaching career. You were a part of 3 Division II national championship teams. So out of those 3, which one was your favorite?
Well, the one that was the favorite was actually the first one because people don't know the other times that we went back there, we lost 4 times before we actually won the first one.
Jeez.
But when we did have opportunity to win the first national championship, we went undefeated. We were 33-0, so that made it even more special.
I like. Now, what was it about that season in particular, or that team, that helped you officially like cross that hump and break through and actually win it?
Well, over the years, of course, you guys, former athletes, just the recruiting process, you knew where you were missing some pieces, and we went out that year back in '92 and just collected a lot of athletes who were winners in high school and in junior college. And when you put a lot of winners together, or that winning mentality, things happen, and it turned out great for us.
I like it. Now, with the success that you had at the Division II level, did you ever consider making that jump to Division I?
No, I had friends that went from Division II to Division I, but I always wanted to stay at that Division II, or at that time we call it small colleges, because I had, more of opportunity to work with the athlete at that time. Some of them came from various, different cities, and just opportunity to work with them hands-on at the D2 level and not have all the help, assistant coaches, this coach, that coach. It was just you and them, and you had that special bond, and that was the part that I enjoy most, is just being with those guys and getting them through school as well as, basketball.
Now, it's funny that you say that, because you could just hear the difference in perspective. Some people would look at that as, man, this is more challenging because I don't have all of the assistant coaches and strength and conditioning coaches and nutritionists and all these other things. But for you, you like that.
Well, yes. It made me a better coach because you had to do it all. Strength and conditioning. The study tables, being in the library and basically roping off an area and have the athletes there. We did early morning check-ins where they had to check in before they went to their first class.
Nice.
And so you felt a connection that you were shaping and molding these athletes in a different way. And there wasn't a lot of, to use the word, entitlement at that time.
Understood. Now, I have a question about you growing up. We talked to former Auburn coach yesterday, Sonny Smith, and we talked a lot about inspiration as he was coming of age. Now, did you, growing up, have any people that inspired you, or was there anything that inspired you to get you where you're at today? Did you have any mentors that taught you anything?
Yes. I know people probably going to laugh at me, but I was a mama's boy.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I was one of 8 kids that she had, and my 3 older brothers and my 2 older sisters, because I'm in the middle, all play sports. And so when you come from a large family, and I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, it was the last name Clark in the neighborhood. So when you went to school, they already said, "Oh, so you're a Clark, so you're going to do this, you're going to do that." It was already predetermined what you were going to do. And so I chose basketball because my older brothers all did football and baseball, but no one in the family did basketball. So I did basketball, and that was my inspiration to try to be the one that at that time in the middle 70s, to get out of Cleveland by trying to get a scholarship. And that was my inspiration because my mom was a domestic worker who went out every day and cleaned homes and came home. And we knew that she could not afford to pay for us to go to college. So I used my athletic ability to garnish a scholarship to Washington State to play basketball.
Man, that's awesome.
That's pretty dope. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Now, speaking of back to your basketball career, especially when you were coaching, when you left Cal State Bakersfield, you were the 8th winningest active coach in Division II history. Number 8. I
tell everybody out there in Deke that one, I had really good players. The community was really behind us, but it was really just hard work that you worked on. I mean, you just went in the gym with the guys early in the morning, worked them out. They went to class, came back for their second practice. It was a situation where coaches and friends knew that we were sort of, and not using this as the bad thing, we were like a boys' town. Some of the kids or players that we got had troubled pasts.
Okay.
And by playing basketball and being in Bakersfield, they started doing more positive things. And so coaches were saying, hey, you got to go to Bakersfield. They're going to change the way you need to be. And so through the network of friends, we were getting players who were really good. But some of them had a pass. Maybe they didn't graduate from junior college and have their associate degree, but they needed a chance, and that second chance really helped them.
Now, I like that. And I mean, obviously, when you look at your record while you were coaching, I mean, it speaks for itself in terms of the success that you were able to have. Now, my question is, in the midst of doing all that and being as successful as you were, you kind of, flipped the switch and took the job to go to the Harlem Globetrotters. So just talk about what went into that decision and why ultimately did you make that decision at that particular time?
Well, at that time, Mr. Manny Jackson, who was the owner of the Harlem Globetrotters and the first Afro-American basketball player at the University of Illinois in 1960, he was, as we spoke later, he was tracking me because I had sent him 4 basketball players from Bakersfield, and those 4 players turned out to be 4 of his favorite players because of the way they played and the way they acted in the community and the Harlem Globetrotter values. So he kept offering me the opportunity to come coach. And I said, no, I'm already coaching. I'm doing this. But I wanted to be an administrator to do the next level and not just coach the rest of my life. And so he gave me the opportunity to be vice president of the Harlem Globetrotters. And I can tell you guys, I had a lot of dreams growing up, but that was not one of them. But that was a dream that came true for me, and I could not turn that down.
Okay. And now, when you said a little bit that you had sent some of your players to him to join the Globetrotters, what was it about those particular players that you just saw and said that, I think their game could transition to the Harlem Globetrotters style of play, because it's very different than your traditional organized basketball?
Yes, it is. But they were really, really good people. And in order to be part of the Harlem Globetrotter organization as a player, you're meeting so many people. And so you are the first defense that they see. These gentlemen were all exceptional, young men. I mean, they were very affable. They spoke very well. No one was a stranger. So they had that part down. And then they were exceptional basketball players. And so when you put that combination together, an opportunity to learn from, again, Manny Jackson, who was vice president of Honeywell, who really stressed what the individuals needed to do, I just thought that package was too good for them to pass up.
That's really good. Really dope. I'm sorry. Now, with your decision to go to the Globetrotters, you've had multiple decisions to make throughout your career, whether it's coaching changes and whatnot. Do you have fundamental things that you think about, like pros and cons, just some type of, philosophy that you have whenever you're looking to make a life-altering decision?
Well, yes, the first thing that always comes, to mind is how's it going to affect my family? I have 2 boys, and my older son, Brandon, he was on the bench with me when I was coaching. He was a ball boy and all of those things. So I got a chance to spend a lot of time with him. by coaching in Bakersfield where he was born. So I really wanted to stay there. When the second son came along, he was a little bit younger. So when the Globetrotters made the offer to move from Bakersfield to Phoenix, since he was young, it was a good time for us to move because he had opportunity to learn, the environment of a different city. So family was always first in your mind when a decision came up regarding coaching. And earlier when Arthur asked about opportunity to go Division I and do those things, all those offers entailed moving. And I wasn't ready to move the family from Bakersfield to Seattle, Washington, or from Bakersfield to Washington, D.C. So I really just wanted to stay there with the family until something else came along.
Man, now talk a little bit about what it was even like being a part of the Globetrotters organization. I mean, I know me as a fan, I've been to numerous games and we see it, and it's more like you said, the entertainment element of it. But from your perspective, what was it like?
It was eye-opening. It was, as a basketball coach, you wanted to coach basketball, so you had opportunity. But as a teacher in me, just to see smiles on all the people's faces, from kids who were 3 years old to individuals, who were a little bit more mature up to 75. Just the smiles and anticipation and the oohs and the ahs that you would get from them when you were just entertaining them. And so for me, it was more that, you always thought basketball was a game played in the United States. But the Globetrotters exposed you to that this game is universal and everyone loves to play basketball no matter what. I think Arthur will attest to this. No matter how many double days they had in football, they'd be tired. But when you walk through that gym, you see the basketball laying off to the side. You pick up that basketball and you have a second burst of energy. And you want to play. So it was just the idea that basketball changed lives, but basketball opened up so many doors for people to give them exposure to playing the sport.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. When you're passionate about a sport, it doesn't matter how tired you are, how much, oh man, I'm done with it. You see that particular sport and you see that football or that basketball or even baseball for some people out there, and you're like, yeah, let's go give it a go today.
There's no doubt about it.
So now just talk about a little bit the difference of experiences for you when you were coaching with the Globetrotters compared to you coming from Division II, where you were, like I said, very, very successful in a highly competitive atmosphere. So from a coaching standpoint, how did those two situations differ?
Well, they differ because one was competitive when you're coaching, collegiate basketball, and the Globetrotters were more of entertainment. But also the Globetrotters, most people don't know, we had two teams always. There were more of the show team that you had the showman, and then you had a competitive team. And so it was one team on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. But the competitive team, we would play against colleges. We also played at the NCAA Final Four. We played against a Division I All-Stars. So it was always an all-star game that was televised by ESPN. So you had opportunity to be entertainers, but you also had to be competitive because you had to be ready to play against those type of teams. And again, Mr. Jackson, the owner, we were preparing the years when I was coaching there before the Olympics in 2008. We were scheduled to play the Argentinian team, the team from Spain.
Wow.
Because you wanted to give those guys experience by playing against those individuals.
Man, see, I had no clue about it. I thought it was just one team and just the sole entertainment element of it. So, man, that's unique. That is very unique.
Yes, like I said, we had to have two teams and sometimes three because of the demand for the Harlem Globetrotters. You know, when you're in the major cities, you know, New York, LA, Miami, Dallas, you had Chicago, you had to stay there 3 days. Jeez. And you had to do double headers each day because the demand for watching the Harlem Globetrotters or have an opportunity to watch the Harlem Globetrotters were great, because you would see people now and they would say, yep, I saw the original Harlem Globetrotters, not the new ones. I saw the original. And you always have to correct them and say, no, the original ones were in 1920. So you didn't see the original. You saw the ones that you remember, the Mellock Lemons, the Curly Nils at that time.
Now, did you have a chance to coach those guys as well? Talk about Meadowlark and Curly?
I did not have opportunity to coach them, but they, the Harlem Globetrotters were based in Phoenix, Arizona, and a lot of the players, former players, live here in Phoenix, Arizona. So we were always at the beginning of the year, you know, meeting where you have the big tip-off. Mm-hmm. So all of the former Harlem Globetrotters would be there at that time. Mel Lark, before he passed away, was living out in Phoenix. Curly Neal was living out in Phoenix. And others, Manny Jackson, the owner, also was a former Globetrotter who stays out here in Phoenix. So you just had meet these individuals at the functions. And then the best thing about it, though, guys, is when you went to the different cities, it was always former Globetrotters in those cities that came to the game. And just to be able to share their experiences with the younger players was a treat.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I like it. Now, prior to joining the Globetrotters, you only coached. That was your only position. So talk about transitioning into that vice president role and how you ultimately adjusted to that.
It took a while to adjust. I have to be honest. The only time that I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning was to use the restroom when I was younger. But to have meetings at 5 a.m. in the morning in the corporate world, that was new to me. And you did not leave the boardroom. You were there at 5:30 or 6. Breakfast was brought in. You did the work. Noon would come around. Lunch would come in. You would do work. Then you would stay, and then dinner would come in. It was totally new.
Wow.
Because I was enclosed within a 4-wall area, and I was never used to that. It was always a window I can look out, go for a walk, do things, go in the gym. But to be confined, quote, to the boardroom took a lot of adjustment on my part. I learned so much, but it was just a change, and it was a high level, high intense change with the Harlem Globetrotters.
Now, you mentioned learning. Was there something in particular that you learned, or I don't know, maybe there was like a favorite thing that you took away with you from being in the Globetrotters organization?
Well, one of the things, though, Deke, was in the collegiate world, the players signed a national letter of intent, and school was paid for them along with the books, and then they performed the service. At the professional level, it was contracts. It was the wording of the contract. It was trying to put a value on a player to be paid a certain amount of money. And that fell on me, and that was new because I was the type of guy that I want to pay everybody everything.
Yeah.
I want to give them everything, but it was like, oh,
see, you my type of guy. why didn't you? Where were you when I was going through contract negotiations? I could have used you.
Yeah, I understand. And so that was the part that I learned the most, and I enjoyed learning was the contract, language, and the bonuses and all of those things. Before I knew nothing about, because you were saying, well, hey, if you can do this, this, and this, then you would get this. If you're able to perform on the USO or the military trip, you will get this. If you're able to go to China or Europe, you would get this, But also, you talk to the players, the best thing about, one of the best things about being a Harlem Globetrotters, you're able to stay at home in the United States. So if you lived in Charlotte, you stayed in Charlotte, you came out to Phoenix to train, and then we went on tour, but you never had to really leave your home to go to Europe as the international players were doing. So the ability to stay home was good for the players, but for me, it was just learning how to do contracts.
Now, staying with the contracts, from a financial standpoint, how much of a price difference typically for these contracts were we talking versus the guys that went overseas? Were they comparable pricing, or was it a drastic decrease in price when you're staying with the Globetrotters versus taking some of these overseas contracts?
Again, it was it was by position. If you were a showman, the person with the ball and controlling everything, you were paid a really good salary. Some of the showmen probably were making up to $500,000.
Wow!
Damn!
What?
And it wasn't a lot of wear and tear on your body physically, but it was a lot of wear and tear on your body because you perform the same routine every day and sometimes twice a day, not counting practice.
And you have to do the entertainment value as well, because y'all are up in the crowd doing meet and greets. So yeah, geez.
We had Globetrotter University where you get information to a crowd of people about the origin of the Globetrotters, but it paid well enough that the selling point was you did not have to leave home and to go to Belgium. You didn't have to be away from your family. And so to be able to make the same amount of money, have better, quote, health care for yourself, and to be around family and friends as you travel with that red, white, and blue uniform on, it was so special for those players. Other players wanted to have that opportunity that I played overseas. But you had to pick out the right person. So some of the players were probably better basketball players, but at that time we were trying to get 50% better person and 50% basketball and put it together, and we had a 100% Globetrotter.
I like that.
Now, what do you think are some of the biggest opportunities or challenges for the Globetrotters going forward?
Well, Globetrotters are, with the pandemic going on, the changes will be, a Globetrotter crowd can go from 12,000 people packed to playing in a stadium of 50,000 people packed. But the Globetrotters' philosophy has always to be meet and greet, where after every game we had an autograph session where we roped off the court and you sign autographs for 35 minutes. And so the meet and greet part is going to be the biggest change of the Harlem Globetrotters, because to use the word, everybody wanted to touch the Globetrotters, and now you won't have that opportunity until everything that's resolved about the social distancing and those things. And that travel also is something that you're going to have to look at as well.
you see any opportunities? I mean, just even like connecting with the younger generation coming up. Is there any, I don't know, like out of the box things that you could see the Globetrotters do?
Well, I mean, I think they really have done it all. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, they did the cartoons of the Harlem Globetrotters. Movie. There's been a movie about the Harlem Globetrotters. You always have celebrity athletes and celebrities in the movie industry play with the Harlem Globetrotters.
Honorary members, yeah.
You have Globetrotter camps around the country and around the world, and so that's going to probably continue. I would venture to say that you're probably going to be more of the, I'm probably not up to date, but the video game type situation where you can do hook shots, dribble, do the different shots and dunks as a Harlem Globetrotter. I think that might be one of the next steps that they will look into.
Yeah, maybe implement that into 2K or something.
Something. I'm about to say for me, I'm trying to sign up to be the honorary ice bucket member. You know the guy, he runs through the crowd, and he's like, oh, he throws it, and it's nothing. I always wanted to be that guy. I'm just throwing it out there.
Right, yeah. And when we did travel to the event cities, you know, the different cities, we always had a event hype person who would go into that city ahead of time and promote the Globetrotters, and you would find out which people were going to be in the stands. I remember, you know, doing it. They throwing the confetti and then the water on Sharon Stone when we were in Los Angeles. I remember when we were in Miami at that time. It was Shaq's wife and his family. I remember in Tennessee, it was I'm just went brain dead. It was the women's basketball coach for the University of Tennessee.
Pat Summitt.
Mm-hmm.
Pat Summitt. You know, so you picked out the individuals, and then of course everyone in the arena recognized the person you picked out, and that made it even more because it was that wow factor that that was implemented.
That's awesome, man. Trust me, that's one of my favorite parts of every time I've seen the Globetrotters. Who's getting the bucket? Who's getting it? Now, you're the uncle to the Kansas City Chiefs pass rushing phenom Frank Clark. Now, I just need to know, from your perspective, man, what's it like when you get a chance to see him just dominating in the NFL, man?
Well, it's an awesome pride feeling because I think I mentioned earlier that the last name Clark, we all quote, you had to live up to. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I was growing up, I had to live up to not only in athletically, but morally, you had to live up to that name. Frank is doing that now. The new generation, he is living up to the Clark name. He is showing that he's able to play professional football at a high level, but also he's doing the things that you want your nephew to do. And so he's giving back to the community with his free football camp. At one point in time, you know, Frank was homeless when he was in Los Angeles, when he moved away from Cleveland. So he has a passion for giving different programs food as long as his time to them. So when you put it all together, yes, we are so proud of him to say there's a Super Bowl champion in the Clark family, but to see the growth that he has made as a young man coming up, because we remember him as that just a little kid who had to sit at the little small table in the kitchen while we're all eating at the holiday table, and he was at the kids' table. So just to see his transition over the years, that gives you a sense of pride right there.
Man, that's awesome to hear. And you're right. He's been doing an awesome job having an impact both on and off the field. So we definitely hope he continues that. And Henry, we appreciate you and hope you continue being great in all that you do as well, man.
Oh, no, you're correct. I'm currently teaching special needs students. I do what we call adaptive PE within Arizona. I go to different schools and I teach the students the importance of physical education and staying healthy. I've been doing that since I retired from the Globetrotters. I wanted to fall back on my education, and that was special education. So I'm happy doing that. I enjoy it, and I'm having the time of my life.
Just out of curiosity, why special education? Why was that on your heart?
It was Deke, when I was an athlete, I was falling behind in my classes because we were always on a road trip. And at that time, I wasn't the student that I should have been. And so in order to make up class time and work, one of the teachers suggested that I volunteer to be a hugger at the Special Olympics. And the hugger job was you stood at the finish line, and as the students came across the line from running, you gave them a big hug.
Man, that's awesome.
And I did that for my makeup, trying to get better grades.
Yeah.
And I did that for the weekend, and that was on a Saturday. And then Monday, I went in and changed my major from business administration to special education.
Man, that is awesome. And yeah, if you go see any of the Special Olympics, man, it's an awesome just atmosphere when you're out there and you're seeing just how they're competing and just how excited they get, man, when they do cross the finish line and they are being able to do things that to other people seem simple, but to them it's a big accomplishment for them, man. So that's awesome. I definitely commend you for that.
Right, and it was ironic because the players will always say, "Coach must went to a Special Olympic event because practice was always hard." After I went to an event, because I'm saying I saw individuals who think to run 25 meters and giving it their all.
Yes.
And then I look at you guys who are God-given talent.
Get 'em.
And you don't want to do it. And it was like that. So they're always saying, Coach must went to a Special Olympics. Oh, because it's going to be tough today. So.
I like that though, man. Like I said, man, I definitely appreciate the work that you're doing though. And we appreciate you taking time to hop on the podcast with us, man. It's definitely meant a lot to us.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, again, like I said, you always think that you're done growing, but have an opportunity to speak with you guys. I think I have grown a little bit more today as well.
Well, and likewise, we appreciate that.
Yeah,
definitely
100%.
means a lot.
Well, thank you guys very much. Thanks for thinking of me.
Definitely, man.
No problem. Our pleasure.
All right, now.